I never imagined that the man I loved most could also become my greatest life lesson. But heartbreak has a way of teaching you things you never wanted to know. I fell for Adrian because he seemed kind, ambitious, and steady, the kind of person who made love feel safe and eternal. I gave him my everything, trusting that love alone was enough to build a future. But I didn't know that for him, love was only valuable as long as it came with comfort, status, and wealth. And when someone richer came along, he didn't hesitate to trade me without a second thought. The night he left me still burns in my memory, not because of his words, but because of the way he said them. Casually, almost proudly, like he had won some twisted prize. He told me he needed more from life, meaning he needed a woman whose wealth could match his ambitions. He didn't love me enough to stay. He loved himself too much to settle. The woman he chose was a billionaire, someone whose fortune made me feel invisible in the world we once shared. And just like that, everything I had built in my mind, every dream I nurtured with him, vanished in a single breath. The weeks after he left were a nightmare that moved in slow motion. I stopped checking his social media, even though part of me wanted to see the life he chose, because every photo, every post was a stab in the chest. Friends tried to console me, but pain isn't something logic can fix. It lives in your body, your mind, your memories, replaying moments until you feel like you're drowning. I realized slowly that I wasn't just grieving Adrian. I was grieving the version of love I thought I had, the dream I had built with him, and the comfort I had imagined in our shared future. Adrian's life with her seemed perfect from the outside. There were yachts, vacations, luxurious dinners, and designer outfits everywhere he went. He posted it all online, as if to rub salt in the wound, proving he had leveled up without me. But beneath the glittering surface, cracks were forming. People whispered about Isabella's controlling nature, how she demanded total obedience, and how Adrian, the man who once left me without a second thought, was slowly losing himself in her world. Months later, I received a message from him, a message that made me stop and stare. Adrian's words were filled with regret, desperation, and an almost childish plea for another chance. He said he missed me, missed the stability, the love, and the warmth we once shared. Reading his messages, I realized he wasn't seeking me because he loved me. He was seeking me because he had nowhere else to turn. The life he thought would make him happy had collapsed, leaving him vulnerable, exposed, and desperate. I didn't respond immediately. I let him wait, letting him feel a fraction of the anxiety I felt when he left. During those days, I heard from a mutual friend that Isabella had already grown tired of him, treating him like a plaything until she moved on to someone else. Adrian had traded love for luxury, and now he was learning the harsh truth that wealth doesn't replace respect, kindness, or genuine connection. He was stripped of every fantasy he had chased, and I watched quietly as karma did what it does best. When I finally replied, it wasn't out of longing or hope, it was out of clarity. I asked him simply what exactly he wanted from me now, because I needed him to understand that the past couldn't be rewritten. His messages became frantic, filled with promises to change, pleas to meet, and desperate declarations of regret. But the more he wrote, the more I understood. Adrian wasn't missing me. He was missing the comfort I had once provided while he took it for granted. He wanted familiarity, not forgiveness. Safety, not love. I agreed to meet him, not because I was tempted, but because I wanted him to see exactly what he had lost. On the day we met, I walked in wearing confidence as naturally as breathing. Adrian, once proud and arrogant, now looked smaller, uncertain, and humbled. His clothes were messy, his hair unkempt, and the aura of invincibility he carried before had vanished completely. Life had humbled him, and I had the quiet satisfaction of knowing that he could no longer manipulate or charm me. He stumbled through apologies and excuses, trying to paint a picture where he was the victim, but I was unmoved. I listened, calm and steady, letting him speak while I observed every flaw, every hesitation, every sign of desperation. The man who once left without looking back now craved my attention, and yet I felt nothing but strength. I didn't miss him. I didn't need him. I had grown into someone who didn't depend on the love of someone who had once discarded me. Finally, I spoke, and every word carried the power of my journey. You made your choice, Adrian. You left because you wanted more than I could give you. Now you see that money doesn't buy happiness, and you're learning the hard way. I've healed. I've grown, and I don't need you anymore. His face fell, and for the first time, he realized that no apology could undo the consequences of his actions. I had become the woman he could never touch again, and it felt glorious. Walking away that day, I felt lighter than I had in months, as if the weight of his betrayal had finally lifted. Life didn't stop for me after heartbreak. It opened a door I never knew existed. I pursued my passions, surrounded myself with people who genuinely valued me, and rebuilt my world into something vibrant, fulfilling, and completely mine. Adrian's regret was irrelevant. My happiness didn't require his validation. And as I looked back once, I didn't feel anger or sadness. I felt pride. Because the truth I discovered through all the pain is simple but powerful. Losing someone who doesn't truly value you is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your comeback. The man who left me for wealth, who underestimated my worth, who thought he could replace my love, had no idea that I was capable of thriving without him. My life, my success, my happiness, these were no longer intertwined with his choices. I had the last laugh, not through cruelty, but through my own unstoppable growth. And that, I realized, was the sweetest revenge. I spent months rebuilding my life, step by step, finding joy in small victories and savoring the freedom I had never experienced before. I traveled, met new people, explored passions I had put aside, and discovered a strength I didn't know I possessed. Every time I thought of Adrian, it was no longer a stab of pain, but a reminder of how far I had come. I realized that his absence allowed me to bloom, and his return could never disrupt the life I had built. He had once been my world, and now I was mine. Adrian's attempts to re-enter my life became increasingly desperate, but I met each message with calm indifference. He tried to charm me, apologize, and even guilt me into feeling sorry for him. None of it worked. I had learned the ultimate lesson. No one who leaves for selfish reasons deserves a second chance unless they've truly changed. Which Adrian hadn't. My heart, once bruised, was now armored with self-respect, dignity, and a clarity that made his regret meaningless. The final moment came when he begged me in person, tears in his eyes, voice trembling, to reconsider. I looked at him and smiled not cruelly, but with the serene confidence of someone who has healed completely. Adrian, I said softly, your mistakes taught me my worth. You don't get to come back into my life. I've moved on, and so has my heart. I wish you well, but this chapter is over. And just like that, the man who once had the power to break me had none. Now, every day is mine to live fully, unapologetically, and joyfully. I no longer measure my worth by someone else's choices or validation. I no longer fear loss, because I know that the person I've become cannot be shaken by betrayal. Adrian is a memory, a lesson, a moment in my past that no longer dictates my future. I am whole, I am strong, and I am free, and that is the happiest ending I could ever imagine. Every scar, every sleepless night, every tear I shed became a stepping stone to my liberation. I discovered that revenge doesn't always have to be cruel. The most powerful revenge is thriving while the one who hurt you realizes they lost someone irreplaceable. I am living proof that heartbreak can be transformed into strength, betrayal into wisdom, and abandonment into self-love. And as I look forward, I know that my life is mine alone, filled with possibilities that no one, not even Adrian, can ever take away. my story didn't end with him. It began anew, because I refused to settle for less than I deserve.